Hello and welcome. I'm Terry Matthews, co-founder of CaterLinked, and I'm really pleased to welcome you to what's going to be a very special session for our members. From Catering Excellence to Orchestration Mastery. So at CaterLinked, we're all about helping catering professionals grow smarter together, and today's session is a perfect example of that collaboration in action. We've got two incredible leaders with us today, Danielle Guzzetta, and founder of RevGen Marketing, and Christian Hilty, VP of Partnerships at DeliverThat, our valued CaterLinked community partner. Danielle's spent her career helping restaurant brands build high-performing catering programs, turning catering into true growth engines without adding unnecessary complexity. Through RevGen Marketing, she's helped operators uncover new revenue by leveraging what they already do best. Christian brings the delivery side of that story to life. At DeliverThat, he's leading the charge and making catering delivery more efficient, brand safe, and profitable, helping restaurants orchestrate their off-premises business from order to execution. Together, they'll dive into what makes catering different from takeout and traditional food delivery, and how orchestration really elevates your results. A big thank you to Danielle and Christian for being here and sharing their expertise with the CaterLinked community. All right, let's dive in. Danielle, Christian, over to you.
Well, thank you,
What a
Terry.
great intro.
We're not following some big shoes here, aren't we, Christian?
This is great. This is great.
Well, thank you, Terry, for that introduction. Christian is helping me drive today, so we're going to kick off with our first slide. Thank you so much, Christian. Save the day. Good afternoon, everyone. As Terry mentioned, my name is Danielle Guzzetta, and I am the founder of RevGen Marketing. Thank you for joining us today. I started RevGen about 2.5 years ago, after spending a decade as a chief marketing officer for brands such as Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza, Smoky Bones, and a number of the Earl brands. I decided to take my experience and focus into a new direction, and that is helping restaurants generate revenue outside of their four walls. You can imagine, as a CMO, I spent years trying to drive butts and seats traffic into the restaurant, average order, ticket prices, etc. And only a few years ago did I really realize and recognize the incredible opportunity that exists outside of those four walls. So at RevGen Marketing, I really help restaurant brands drive incremental revenue and profitability through programs such as catering, virtual brand, pop-up eateries, Amazon Hub Center food stations, B2B catering partnerships, and the likes. We're going to hop into page 2, slide 3. And today we're going to talk a little bit about how to win at catering, right? What worked 2 years ago simply does not work in today's environment. The landscape has changed drastically. And if 10 to 15% of your net sales aren't coming from catering off premise, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And as we all know, we are racing into Q4, which is the single most important time of the year for catering. This is when restaurants typically generate anywhere from 30 to 40% of their annual catering sales. Preparation and proactive outreach are key. I have many of my clients that are already taking Black Friday orders, if you can imagine. So this is the time when you really want to get organized and start proactively outreaching for these big event opportunities. This is where I can help if you need a strategy, regardless of where you are in your catering journey. This is where I can hop in and help if you need some guidance there. Okay, let's start off with the first slide. We'll skip this one, how to win at catering. Here's what brands that are winning at catering are doing. So the National Restaurant Association just recently came out with a statistic saying that now 75% of all restaurant traffic comes from off-premise. That is a big number. That means 3 out of 4 of your orders are through takeout, delivery, or catering. Those that are winning at catering have 4 things in common. 1, they treat catering as a standalone business unit. This is not an afterthought. It's a dedicated revenue stream with its own strategy, its own structure, its own budget, and in many cases, its own dedicated resource. 2, they proactively pursue new business. They are not sitting around waiting for orders to come in. They have a disciplined, repeatable outbound sales process that helps them win corporate clients. 3, they master operations, right? Flawless execution is the norm, not the exception. And restaurants have been forced to figure out, where does third-party pickup go? Where does catering go? Where does the easy cater orders go? How do we get our people in and out and not affect the dining room traffic? This is critical. And that's where Christian is going to come in and talk a little bit about orchestration. Timelines have to be met. Roles need to be cleared. The partnering with the kitchen has to be critical. So when all of these things work together, it's not just standing up a menu. All of this needs to work together in order to be successful. And most importantly is relentless promotion and outreach. I saw a statistic the other day. I want to say it was from Lunchbox, don't quote me, but that 61% of guests in the restaurant didn't know that their favorite restaurant catered. That's terrible. There should be signage and bag stuffers and all these things. You want to let people know that you cater and they should be taking advantage of these services that you offer. Okay, let's pop into the next slide.
I love this one.
I know what's working, what's winning.
Yep.
We all already know this, but just to reiterate, catering is not takeout. It is not delivery. Much higher stakes are at play. Typically, the average catering order is 10 times the value of a single takeout order. So look, if you already have the lights on and a team of laborers working and you're packaging and you're working this hard for one DoorDash order, why not spend that extra couple of steps and do a 10-time value of a catering order? It's a huge opportunity. You're not feeding one, you're feeding 20, 50, 200. So the potential is huge. The potential for repeat after a catering order is phenomenal. There is a statistic from EasyCater. It's known as the halo effect. When you do a catering order for a social event or a large corporate event, typically you will see a 47% catering guest return back in for a restaurant visit. So not only are you getting your brand name out for repeat catering orders, but you are driving traffic back into the restaurant. You want to position yourself as the reoccurring meetings, trainings, celebrations, seasonal events. We know all that. According to a recent Lunchbox statistic, only 20% of catering customers are repeat guests. That implies that 80% of them do not come back for a second order, absent a targeted retention strategy. So that's why it is so critically important that you keep in front. We'll talk a little bit about some marketing strategies in a couple of slides from here, but really it is critically important that you keep in front of these guys. You want to stay top of mind. They have a lot of restaurant choices and you want to be the one that they're picking. Talk a little bit about brand. That's where you want to make sure your labels, your packaging is showcased at these events. You might want to leave menus behind. There's a lot that you can do to garner that second repeat visit order. Next slide.
Oh, I didn't want to miss for you. There we go.
Thank you. So let's talk about where the real money is. One-time buyers, as I just mentioned, make up 61% of customers, but only 31% of revenue. The real engine of catering growth is repeat business. Just 6% of customers, that's regular and frequent, account for nearly 30% of revenue. Take a look at this chart here. You want to be on the far right here, right? You want to be where you might have less visitors, higher order value, 2, 3, 4. I think it might have been Earl Dardick that said, it was either Earl or Mo that said, after the third visit, you've got a customer for life. So that's where you want to be on this graph. Next slide. Profit killers. We think we're just going to put our pricing out there, and just because it's 200 people or 50 people, we're going to make a lot of money. There's a lot of hidden profit killers that come with catering that you need to think about. other than the fact that we just talked about, this has to be the priority focus and its own revenue stream, its own dedicated budget resource and person. You can't have an afterthought or an add-on. You need to think about things such as your packaging costs, your trays, your utensils, your branding, labels. All of this eats into your margin. Every catering program that I work on, I ensure that these costs are worked into the pricing structure. Keep in mind, when you are doing a large catering order, CEO walks in, he asks his assistant to order lunch for 100 people in the office. That assistant is not thinking about price yes, is price important? Is cost important? It is. But if you work in these other additional costs, labor, things like that, they're not going to notice that. It's not like a 1-for-1. I ordered a burger last week from here and now I'm getting a burger from here. So you want to keep these in mind. This is what sucks the margin out of catering. Large orders, you want to make sure you're considering your delivery, your labor, your setup costs. Uncontrollable delivery costs, paying retail rates for third-party drivers, not going to make any mentions there, or handling long-distance order without fees destroys your profitability. This is where somebody like DeliverThat can help you keep your costs to zero to minimum. Years ago, we only had one option. We had an easy caterer or whatever. Times have changed. And then again, not having an orchestration system, right? Inefficient routing, duplicate trips, poor communication. These are all profit killers. And this is where Christian's going to hop in just a little bit and tell you how a platform like theirs can help. Of course, you want to make sure there's no bottlenecks in the kitchen, and you want to keep your portioning pretty evenly keeled throughout. Next slide.
I think this ties so well into what you're talking about winners doing, and that's treating it as a standalone business, right? You have to obsess over all the things on this list so you can treat it as its own P&L, so to speak. Like it 100%. Needs to be dedicated how you are studying this in your business.
100%. 100%. Again, these are other things you just need to be doing. Proactive outreach. You guys should have some kind of a database. You know, Black Friday's coming. You should have every Target, Walmart, Best Buy, Costco, Amazon hub center within a 5 to 10 mile radius and start calling these guys. Proactive outreach. Retention practices. Every time, follow up with a thank you. This will build repeat visits. We know this. Many restaurants, I told you, 61% of guests didn't know their favorite restaurant catered. Have signage in the store, put a bag stuffer, have some QR codes on the table. Make sure guests know that you cater. Obviously, we've talked about branded packaging, and we also talked a little bit about some of these other hidden costs. Tracking labor, fuel, vehicle costs. These are some things that you don't always think of up front when you work in your pricing. So you want to make sure that you're thinking about all of those things as you set pricing for catering. Catering is a lot less price sensitive, as I mentioned, than doing a one-off with DoorDash, Uber Eats, or Grubhub. Next slide. Okay, we talk about marketing strategy. Obviously, this is a no-brainer. Your website. Please do me a favor. Don't make it difficult to get into your menu to place an order for catering. I went on one the other day. They wanted a name, a website, my phone number, my first child. I moved to somebody else. Make entry easy. Email, access. And the third thing is make sure you be upfront and put your pricing on there. I understand there's different tiers, but pricing is critical. If I get to a website and I just see a catering menu and I don't know what pricing is, I don't have the time to pick up the phone and take the call and learn. Make it easy for your guests to find you, get the information they need, place an order, and get out. Social media, obviously critically important. Online ordering platform, 75% order online, 25% on the phone. Pick up the phone. answer the phone. If I am calling, and a lot of people, 25%, still might have questions, they want to call. And if no one is answering, I am moving to my next option. One of the reasons I said early on is have a dedicated catering person to answer those phone calls. So these are all critical things. You want to obviously networking, referrals, have your team inside the restaurant work the room. At Anthony's, we would have a manager walk out every time we hosted a dinner, a lunch, work the room, look around. Do you see people in scrubs? Walk over. Hey, do you work in a hospital? Do you work for a doctor? Do you work for a pharmaceutical company? Business suit. Are you a financial advisor? Are you a banker? These are all opportunities to leverage catering. That's just, you don't have to do 100% better than your competitor. You've got to do 1 to 2 to 3% better than your competitor. I'm a big fan of sample drops. Food is the best marketing tool you have. It is also the cheapest. At 30 cents on the dollar, you drop a cookie tray, you drop a sandwich platter with your GM's name or how to order. That goes a really long way. And then we've already talked about bag stuffers and signage.
I love this. A couple of these are like very much your in-store team needs to be trained on the art of catering, and they need to prioritize it, right? If you were to do like a secret shopper and call into a restaurant, how many people are going to handle it the same way across the board? If you're like, hey, I need to order food for 100 people and I have questions. Is there somebody who's the point person for that? Same thing with working the room. I've never really even heard it framed that way, right? But people are already in your dining room.
Right.
Go find them and make them aware. You might say we cater, but go up to them and make that memorable to them.
100%. And it's funny you say that, Christian. I was placing a catering order about a month ago. I wanted to call the restaurant because I had questions. Wasn't a typical order. Girl that answered the phone, I said, hey, do you guys cater? And she said, no, we don't cater. And I heard the manager in the background, of course we cater. Yes, we cater. Let me take the call, right? So it is critically important that we know what we're doing, but that the rest of the team knows and can answer questions in the absence of a director of catering or a manager of catering. That's how you're going to get those extra orders that go a long way.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so this is the point where I'm going to transition. I am excited to turn things over to Christian. As Terry mentioned, he is the Vice President of Partnerships at DeliverThat. Christian has been with DeliverThat, I believe, close to 8 years. I have had the pleasure of working with Christian on numerous projects. He is a rock star. And I'm sure everybody on the call is already familiar with DeliverThat, but for those who aren't, they are really one of the first to market as a full service delivery management company. They're redefining off-premise fulfillment. I would say what started as a catering delivery platform has really evolved into a comprehensive orchestration platform. And that's really what Christian is going to talk about today. Those that are winning in catering are using the likes of DeliverThat because it's just is unmanageable unless you have a platform such as a DeliverThat to help you. So with that, Christian, you can take it away.
You teed it up just as well as Terry did when we kicked off. Thank you for that, Danielle, and thanks for sharing all your experience and knowledge throughout that. So yeah, I mean, a big topic for us and for the industry right now is like, who is executing the deliveries? It's funny, 8 years ago when I got started at DeliverThat, I remember watching panels at conferences, and there would always be 50% or more of the people on the panel who said, never outsource your catering to someone else. You cannot control it. Do not do it for any reason. And then you fast forward, and today we work with some of the brands that I watched them say this 8 years ago. We work with some of the brands who ignored our sales outreach on LinkedIn. The industry has really changed and adapted this third-party delivery model, right? The labor landscape is different. Hiring, training your own drivers is something that's difficult to do at scale. There are people that are doing it. It's amazing to see people who are doing that at scale. But for most restaurants, you need to outsource a portion or a majority of your delivery. And that's not just mealtime. That's these large 10x catering orders as well. And who you go to partner with that and how you manage it makes a huge difference. And it really does transform how restaurants are growing. So a lot of what we'll talk about today is orchestration. And just to like start off with the concept of orchestration, right? I think about delivery as like this tiered out model when it comes to catering. You might be taking some deliveries in-house. Maybe those are just VIP orders. Maybe they're just a certain order size, a customer you're trying to win back. But then you're also going to have maybe your primary overflow option, or vice versa. A third party is your primary option and your in-house staff is the overflow solution. And then you get all the way down to like the DoorDashes and the Ubers that are taking some of your smaller orders that are still catering or are used on a case-by-case basis when you need somebody ASAP. And so orchestration is really, as a restaurant, it's not something that's optional anymore, right? When you hit the seasonality, you hit the Q4 and 30% of your catering revenue is going to come in the span of 3 months. It's so important you don't tell customers no. And a huge part of that is having the driver network to fulfill these deliveries. And that might not be one DSP, right? I know we're very proud of our fulfillment rate of 99.3 to 99.8% for our partners, but there's always going to be that sliver and you cannot tell customers no. So orchestration is going to be who's taking your orders and are you strategically setting them up to take the orders and the types of orders that they're taking. So I'm going to go ahead and control these slides again. So delivery is not slowing down and neither should you. I think really I was describing 8 years ago and what it looked like. Now it is such a fast track for delivery. It's, 70+% of the orders that are placed for catering, people want them to be delivered. They want different levels of setup involved in these deliveries. But 90% of these customers that are ordering catering also want delivery tracking. 75% you mentioned were placed digitally and placed online. So much about the industry has shifted towards this delivery experience, and it dictates your brand reputation. If 90% are asking for tracking, what does that tracking experience look like for the guests when they see the food leave? If people are placing the order digitally, a lot of times the driver is their first interaction with the store and with the brand. How are you being represented at the drop-off? So we're going to talk about taking control of that and being aware of who's taking your food. And that could be a DeliverThat. And I'm going to talk about this in the lens of for that. But however you're doing it, you should know who's delivering your food and make that decision for yourself is the theme of all of this, because it really does dictate your brand perception to catering customers. So chaos and off-premise. When I think about just like all of the tablets that I see in restaurants when I go in, I think about like the fine line between being like a multi-channel delivery acceptor as a restaurant to now it's just multi-chaos, right? Like you can lose your brand reputation between all of these tablets. So it's great to be on every marketplace that you possibly can and get brand exposure until it ruins the execution, right? So if you have to track 6 different places for your pickup times, you're looking at EasyCater Marketplace over here, a DoorDash tablet over here, a Grubhub tablet over here, your DeliverThat dashboard over here. This can lead to chaos, right? It's a different experience with each driver that walks in. It's completely different brand perception for the customer that's receiving the food at the end, not to mention the strain that it puts on your operators. The reporting's fragmented, the actual operation of knowing which driver needs which order can be chaotic when you have 2 DeliverThat drivers, 2 Uber drivers, 3 DoorDash drivers all in your building at the same time. It can be stressful unless you get everything in one place where you have full transparency of those things. So my next slide here is really about how we look at this and the solutions that we're bringing to the table. But I don't want this to just be a DeliverThat pitch. So I will continue to emphasize that as I go through here. These are solutions we have. There are other providers who are pushing solutions similar to this. The theme is that you need to know who is delivering your food and have visibility in one singular place, right? So on our front, we took chaos, we gave it a dashboard, and now we get to rebrand it as coordination. Right now we have everything in one place, and instead of chaos in all of these tablets and all of these places to look, you have one dashboard. You can effectively then manage them and see what DSP is taking what of your deliveries, right? So just because everything's in our dashboard does not mean our drivers have to take all of the orders. They might be self-delivered by the restaurant like we've talked about. They might be taken by DoorDash, Uber, other DSPs, but you'll see everything in one place for one stop for your reporting, one stop for your tracking, and you can go in here and really see the quality assurance of what do the setup photos look like? How's my brand being represented from a timing standpoint, a setup standpoint? Everything's under one roof, and that's how you take chaos to coordination. My favorite thing about this slide, though, I had no hand in making this slide. Our marketing team does fantastic. It's the people first, and then it's the tech enabled. And we talked about this at the catering workshop out in Texas 2 weeks ago. But we did a word cloud, and everybody got to say like catering is, and it kept coming up over and over again. And it was relationships, it was people, it was culture. And that comes from the grassroots stuff, working the room, right? That's how you build community. That's how you build a brand reputation. It's the same thing when it comes to technology. It is so fragmented in the food space. I look at the Brizo graphic that they have. I don't know, Danielle, if you've ever seen this, but there's like 150 different technology logos. And it's like, whoa, overwhelming. Time out. What do I actually need? And some of these places are pitching their solution as like the must-have thing. And you just throw some technology at it and this will work until you're 2 weeks into your 1-year contract and you realize it doesn't integrate with this. It doesn't integrate with this. And now we're learning a very expensive lesson, right? So when it comes to people first for us, we make it easy to sign up. We make it easy to walk away. We're trying to integrate with as many places as possible, but we always want it to be people first, tech enabled, because technology is going to help you report, make decisions, have visibility to make the right decisions for your brand. But you need partners that you can truly trust. You don't need vendor relationships with 20 different technology providers. You need true partnerships where there's transparency, accountability, and you guys both have the same goal, right? So all of our technology is people first, tech enabled, so that we can make sure we're empowering restaurants to run their brand the way they want to.
Christian, I love that slide. I just want to add in, when we talked previously about profit killers, this is the number one thing restaurants can do to take their profits from here to here, right? You are going to save, this is where you're going to save time, energy, mistakes, errors, money, labor, throw it all into here. And that's going to be this is going to result in a big number for them.
Yep. And I think there's some slides in here. We'll go through some tangible examples, but for me, to you, anybody on this call, anybody who watches this in the future, my favorite part of my job is giving people visibility that they didn't have before to things like their on-time rate, and then going through the exercise with them and comparing current cost to what they were paying before and seeing the massive savings. I know it's not easy from a financial standpoint to run a successful business, let alone restaurant in today's landscape, and seeing that savings with them and seeing their eyes light up and they're like, oh my gosh, I can see everything. Some large restaurant brands literally don't know who's delivering their catering, right? It's just like this thing that's happening and they don't realize how much the set it and forget it mentality. They forget how much they're being charged for catering delivery. They lose track of those margins because they're not treating it as a standalone business like you were mentioning. So it is genuinely my favorite part when we talk about people first and tech enabled. That's the best part of the job. So now we're going to get into like truly the orchestration side of things, right? And this is what we are doing. This is use cases that we're going to go through of what DeliverThat is doing. But again, there are multiple parties here that are trying to establish a one-stop shop for delivery orchestration. I would tell you to explore everything under the sun, get testimonials, find things that you can try out easily. But for us, we want it to be fully customizable, and that's where we've gotten it, right? It all really stemmed from feedback from operators that our current structure at the time, this is about a year and a half ago, was that we were fantastic at doing catering delivery, but we're not as cheap as a DoorDash or as cheap as an Uber. And not all caterings are like a one size fits all, right? Our average catering delivery order cost is somewhere $350 to $375 on the platform. But with that comes a lot of deliveries that are like $50, $100, like, just like these 5 to 10 people catering orders that are going out. And so a brand approached us and they said, listen, I want all of my deliveries to flow to you guys as my catering DSP, but it doesn't make sense for me to pay you guys $25 or $35 to deliver $50 worth of food, right? So I bring that back to our technology team, and that turns into, oh, well, we could set it up so that it goes to these other DSPs automatically. We charge different rates for those and pass through that savings to restaurants. So where we're at now is there are a lot of different factors we can look at with a restaurant and say, okay, you want deliveries of this type to go to these DSPs. And even if we set that up from an automated perspective, you still reserve the right to take it in-house, right? Cancel it on our platform and take it with your own driver, or switch between DSPs, right? There might be a $100 order for a first-time customer that you want DeliverThat to take to put a good foot forward, but you don't want us to, by nature, take all of your $100 orders. So that's what we talk about when we talk about orchestration, is like, how do we take this concept that is not transparent to restaurants and give them the control to dictate what they're doing. And we've done that through the dashboard and the technology powering it, so they can decide what DSPs take what orders and what deliveries they take themselves. I'll kind of breeze through this one. I really want to focus on the centralized visibility. I think we've talked about the automation. We've talked about giving brands back the control that they want and need. But I will keep hammering home the centralized visibility. You don't want your managers, your catering coordinators in the store, you don't want them looking at a million different tablets. You don't want them all over the place. Having one place where they can track their orders, see turn by turn what's going on with the driver, communicate with the driver, is just as important as the next piece, which is really enterprise level support, right? I know I've experienced it as a catering driver, being at a hospital building, not having a suite number, not having a good phone number I can get a hold of the customer. Do I have somebody I can call, get on the phone in 60 seconds? They start helping me troubleshoot things, right? Same thing for a restaurant operator. As soon as that driver is more than 5 minutes late, it is so easy to start panicking. As soon as your tracking link doesn't work, a driver leaves the store and you realize you forgot to give them a pan, having somebody you can call, get on the phone in 60 seconds is so important. You just let $1,000 walk out of your restaurant. That's your brand reputation. That's your food. That's your livelihood in the back of effectively some stranger's car. You want one person you can call and they're going to help you troubleshoot it every single time, right? So all of the orchestration that we're talking about comes with this enterprise level support that is, if it went to DoorDash, if it went to Uber, by design or as overflow, you call one support line, you talk through it with us. We handle everything with another DSP's support. We handle everything in terms of the driver outreach. You don't have to figure out who took this food, which support number do I call. And when you get to a massive scale, large numbers of restaurant units, it is so important that you can give your team one line and just say, this is the number you call. If it's a catering order, they will take care of you, right? The last bullet point on here, though, proactive partnership. We're just collecting tons and tons of data, right? So if we want to diagnose by city, which DSP is the most on time, how is your in-store operations going? Are there food delays at specific stores that you need to communicate back to your ops team? It is an all-encompassing, everyone wins if the brands we work with develop loyalty from their catering customers. So if it's a tough conversation about your operations at store 281, or it's a hard conversation about our drivers not setting up food in Chattanooga, Tennessee, we're ready to have those proactive partnership conversations. That's kind of what I do every single day. Next thing here is why this stuff works, right? I again won't labor on any of this stuff, but it is so important when we talk about the profitability of delivery, right? And studying it as its own P&L, because I have watched too many restaurants now transition to our platform where we effectively have flat rate modeling that is set up for the brands that are working with us, save so much money from going from a percentage-based model that they're being charged on these massive catering orders to a flat rate, one DSP that they're working with, one DSP that they're scaling with. And I think it could not be more important than it is in terms of profitability for catering. Your margins are being eaten at every turn. Marketplaces are taking away from your margins. Third-party delivery companies are taking away from your margins. As someone who works for a third-party delivery company, I'm so proud to give those margins back to restaurants, but it really comes from having the right conversations and knowing who's taking your food and what they are charging you. It cannot get lost in the shuffle. Taco Cabana. Danielle, did you work with us on this exact case study that we did?
I did.
That's the coolest thing in the world.
I was so excited to see it made it into the deck.
You got to see this from start to finish and got to explore this awesome data. Lots of cool highlights on here. Some really big things though. That fulfillment rate just keeps going up for Taco Cabana. It's incredible. Like we're just inching closer and closer to the 100%. A lot less remakes, a lot lower labor cost, right? This was saving their catering managers time. And this is really where things sparked. Like I mentioned earlier, Ashley wanted to send the small orders to DoorDash or to Uber, and then the larger orders to DeliverThat. We worked with Taco Cabana, and I won't say it was a result of this. Ashley and her sales team are rock stars, and they hit the pavement every single day. But Taco Cabana continued to increase their volume, and true symbiotic relationship. We were retaining drivers so well in their areas. We went from sending the small orders to other fleets that specialize in that to actually giving our drivers the first right of refusal for all of their orders. And we saw the quality go up, their brand perception go up, and Taco Cabana is still profiting every single month right now on the delivery fees they charge to customers versus what they're getting charged from DeliverThat. It's one of the cooler things that I've been a part of was watching their margins improve, their brand reputation improve, and their sales team, their operations team can focus on making the food, selling the brand, promoting the brand. They don't have to worry about the delivery element because they know if something goes wrong, we will be accountable and they can get us on the phone in 2 seconds to fix whatever went wrong. So yes, this was a huge win and was really the catalyst for the orchestration that was built out. This national sandwich brand, I don't yet think I'm supposed to say their name out loud. I think a lot of people are aware of who we're working with. But this was 14 weeks ago that we got this off the ground. I still remember the night that I was running an analysis. I was asked to prepare this for this brand's board meeting so they could present, hey, how have the first 6 weeks gone as they scaled with us? And I was running these numbers compared to the fees they explained to me they were paying prior. And these very real numbers, $95,000 in profit just from deliveries coming through another marketplace that they switched over to DeliverThat, and the fees that were being charged to the customers on that marketplace, right? So this is them saying, hey, we're going to self-deliver this order, sending it to us to represent their brand on their behalf. They also take some deliveries in store that we help them power and help them operate. And these are through 6 weeks, $95,000 of profit. The performance skyrocketed. Things could not have gone better from a scale standpoint. But I knew that the operations performance was great. We were sharing that with them every single day, every single week. When I ran the financial numbers, it was like my eyeballs popped out of my head and I was screaming like, Brittany, get in here. Like, we have changed the restaurant game forever. And that felt so dramatic to say, but the more I reflect on it, the more I really think that we gave back the power. This brand operates under the same orchestration we started out with Taco Cabana. So anything less than 150, they're using a mealtime DSP, a national mealtime DSP. Anything over that goes to a DeliverThat catering driver, and they are seeing tremendous success. And that's the right price point for them as of now. We were tracking performance very closely. When we started out, it was 250 and under. We're going to the national mealtime DSP. We very quickly scaled that back to 150. And that, again, is just the transparency that they had, reporting everything under one dashboard, no matter who delivered the food.
That's huge.
It was so exciting. It still excites me every single day, actually.
I can see why. Yes.
Okay, so end-to-end fulfillment for technology and a national fleet, right? we moved, and I think you really teed this up nicely, but we went from delivery as just a service, and we're one of the first to market for that specifically, where all of our drivers are onboarded as catering drivers. They are equipped as catering drivers. Customer service is different when you're dropping off a burrito to a dorm or a burrito to a fraternity than it is when you're taking $1,000 to a hospital. So we mastered the service side and have now pivoted into delivery management totally, right? So this could be us just orchestrating self-delivery for somebody, sending it to another DSP, taking it ourselves. But then we have the national fleet component, right? So restaurants can use us right now just to allow them to do self-delivery. They have to send back tracking to marketplaces. They need an app to track their own drivers. We can operate in that capacity. And then we have this added layer of a national delivery service. So that has always been the backbone. Our drivers will always be the backbone of us. But now we're giving technology to restaurants to power their brand any way that they want to. Is orchestration right for your brand? I've tried not to read off the slides. I really do like a lot of these questions. So I do think these are questions as a brand you should be asking yourself, and not just a stop and forget it kind of thing. Everything evolves for a brand, right? There's like this catering maturation process. There's this flywheel of constantly evaluating what you're doing. But if you can't see all the deliveries across all your stores in one place, if the driver's taking your food, you're not aware of what DSP is taking these. If your in-store kitchen team is being limited by your ability to execute delivery, maybe that's radius, it's lead time, whatever that might be. If you're limiting things because of delivery, you need orchestration ASAP, right? And heaven forbid you have to send a manager out of the store to take deliveries during lunch rushes, during dinner rushes. That is the worst thing that I ever hear from restaurants. And I hate it. It breaks my heart when they just like absolutely have to do that, right? DSP fell through. They don't have a DSP solution in place. But this is a good checklist for people to look at the slide deck afterwards and really just understand, like, where are you at right now with how you're executing deliveries, and could orchestration help you? And again, orchestration is just who's taking your food, and do you know who is taking it and how they're performing, right? It's easy to lose visibility to that stuff. And like Danielle queued us up, it has to be its own separate business. And that visibility is the only way to do it. And then this is probably just to email out, but sales@ideliverthat.com. I don't do a lot of the selling here, but I'm always happy to talk. Mine's Christian@ideliverthat.com. Holiday peak. Danielle, I think this goes back into your slide. I'm familiar with these trends, but I'll let you talk about this one.
Yes, and I mentioned this earlier in the conversation. Q4 represents 30 to 40% of your annual catering revenue. With holiday parties, you want to make sure you're ready to rock. So if there's anything I can do to help, feel free to reach out as well. I think there's one slide at the end after that lists all of our contact information if anybody needs to get in touch with either of us. We love catering. We're passionate about catering, and we're here to see restaurants thrive and grow. So.
Oh, there were some anonymous questions that rolled through here.
Oh, great.
Are we in charge of answering these questions too?
I think Terry was going to maybe read some of those off to us.
Let's go.
I am more than happy to do that. Absolutely. Let me just bring them up on the screen.
I got one that has my name on it. I'll read it.
You go.
Hold on a sec. I've got this.
Okay, go ahead.
So just in case it pops up on the screen first. So every catering order is a brand moment. What's the best way to make sure the delivery feels like your restaurant experience?
Christian, you want to take that? That's right up your alley.
Yeah, I think of this brand moment as like the second it walks into whatever building it is being delivered to. So it's not just the buffet style setup, but it's like the look, the feel of the driver that's coming in and how your food is packaged, right? It could be waiting area at a doctor's office, a lobby of a large skyscraper. Like, that is free marketing for you all the way to the 13th or the 30th floor where it's getting dropped off to. But to answer this super specifically, I think it's packaging and it's who do you work with, right? So either you're taking this in-house and we're talking about training your drivers, training your staff on how to present your brand at the drop-off, or partnering with somebody that you can truly communicate with. I see too often that people are like, oh, I'm going to sign up for DeliverThat, and I don't want to talk to you until there's a massive blow up, right? Well, if your packaging changes, I want to know that. I want to make sure our drivers know that. I want to make sure we're prepared. And so a lot of it for us has been mastering virtual education and collaborating with brands, right? Like, Danielle, you give us a queue up of what your brand is, what your catering offerings are, and then we film a delivery from start to finish to show your most frequent packaging and how the setup looks at the drop off. But for a restaurant, you're looking for the right partners and you want to package the food great. And that's how you have that wow moment the minute you walk in the door until the buffet is set up.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And Christian, I'll add one other thing. What I love about the DeliverThat drivers, they're always very professionally dressed, right?
Yes.
So you handpick white glove drivers, and that makes a difference, and that shows in the presentation.
Love that.
Wonderful. Okay, next question. So if I'm bringing a delivery partner into my catering operation, what should I do first to make sure the integration's smooth for my team and guests?
This one's tricky. Every brand is completely different when we talk about integrations, right? I feel like that word is just the most overused thing in the world, but it also couldn't be more relevant to our space right now. Things are super fragmented. There are politics that go into who gets integrated with who. There are waiting lines for some of these point of sale systems. I would say you need to find somebody who understands this space really well. I know that Earl has done some consulting. Terry can answer a ton of your questions. There are great people in the CaterLinked community, but you need to find somebody who's going to really go through your tech stack with you, right? Like if they don't understand every piece of your technology, there's not going to be like a one size fits all when it comes to who your delivery partner is, unless you're able to walk through it, right? I'll be the first one. If I'm on a call with somebody and they're like, oh, hey, I use Brink POS or Aloha. I'm like, hey, we're not integrated there right now. Here's our little workarounds. Here's how you would get us the orders. But you need to find somebody you trust that's not going to just sell and push you on this must-have solution. Because the truth is there's not a one-stop shop set up for the catering delivery space yet. We will see it in our time.
Yeah, love it. Okay, Christian, how does DeliverThat make sure drivers represent the brand as well as in-house staff would?
Yeah, I think that and even Danielle, you talking about like the white glove and like the professional dress and stuff, it's how we've been able to build our brand to the drivers, right? I would never tell someone our drivers aren't driving for DoorDash and Uber or Lyft. Like they're on those platforms and they're driving for those platforms. But when you log in and you see DeliverThat blue as a driver, do you know that you're held to a higher standard? Have we set you up to tell you that catering is different and you need to blend into a professional environment from a dress code, a hygiene standpoint, a car cleanliness standpoint? So it's like checking those proactive boxes. And then Ben, Kelly, our marketing team, they do a great job of helping us build the driver education I was talking about, right? Each brand we work with, we were just in California filming as many California deliveries as we possibly could with these brands we haven't had a chance to visit yet. But getting that education to the drivers makes them feel invested in the brand that they're delivering for. And it shines light on like what makes catering different for each brand. What are the core values? What's the food that's being offered? So it's a lot of marketing dollars and it's a lot of upfront work with drivers. My last thing I will say, there's a defensive component of it, right? If 97% of the time things go great and 3% of the time they don't go well, how do we hold ourselves accountable to that? How do we hold the drivers accountable to that, right? There are things that go wrong because of restaurants, things that go wrong because of drivers. Nobody needs to just immediately lose their livelihood over it, but we do need to take swift action to make sure that things are rectified from our standpoint.
Wonderful. Okay, so for restaurants relying on third-party delivery, what are the best ways to maintain brand control from kitchen to doorstep?
I can take the first part and then Christian can jump in if he'd like. I know I work very hard with my clients to ensure that we are selecting items that deliver well. I've had many clients say, what about French fries? Don't deliver them. Don't. You want to put your best foot forward. So one, I think, is looking at your menu and make sure that everything you're doing, putting out there is deliverable and is going to have integrity. And the second is make sure whoever is delivering your items has the right equipment. I'm going to tell you this funny story, Christian. You guys were nice enough to send me some of these big DeliverThat bags, these big thermal bags. I've had them in my garage. My daughter is an athlete. She doesn't eat out. She had to drive her car back from here to Ohio, 19-hour trip. She took those DeliverThat bags. She packed her food in there for 2 days.
That's awesome.
Made it all the way up, a 19-hour trip. So those are the things that will ensure the integrity of the food delivery.
I take those. I don't know if Aldi is big where you guys are at, but I take my DeliverThat bags to Aldi all the time. And I'm like, see, it's just great marketing, Jim. Thanks for the bags.
It's great. Exactly. So
I echo all of that. I always tell people, if you're using the third-party delivery apps, and most brands are using them in some respect, right? Treat it like it's a pickup order for your customer, and that eliminates 95% of the problems, right? Like, make sure it is packaged in a way that you wouldn't expect your customer to come with some big, beautiful DeliverThat thermal bags. You just wouldn't. You would have it packaged in a way that they can transport the food. And the best brands that I see controlling this from their kitchen all the way to the doorstep of the customer through the setup. Yes, they have the right delivery partners. They expect them to be equipped. They expect them to dress the part, but they treat it like a pickup order for a customer. And that packaging goes such a long way, right? We have those big, beautiful bags. I would be lying if I said of the thousands and thousands of orders we're doing every week, we haven't had drivers show up without their bags. They leave it in the wife's car, the husband's car, whatever it is. They leave it. They don't have it when they get to the pickup. What now, right? We don't want to be in the back trying to grab Home Depot boxes and piece together something to give to this driver. We want to have a plan in place, but that comes from the buy-in that you're talking about of treating this like a separate business, right? You need some leadership buy-in to make this investment in the right catering packaging.
100%.
Wonderful. Okay, so when mistakes happen, such as missed items or late delivery, how does DeliverThat work with the restaurant operators to ensure a seamless experience for guests?
Yeah, I think this is about like the speed and the SLAs in terms of getting refunds back to customers, getting refunds back to restaurants, or redispatching deliveries, right? So for us, we kind of have like 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll call it like a 4-tiered model where we have drivers on our platform that are pre-scheduled days in advance, have taken tons of deliveries, and they kind of get like first right at deliveries. Then we have drivers who start getting them at 24 hours. We have drivers on our platform that are more same-day catering drivers with a lower lead time, and they expect those things. And then we have DoorDash Drive, DoorDash Large Overflow, or Large Order Fulfillment, and Uber Eats, right? So there's all these different DSPs. So if something bad happens, forgotten item, our driver can't go back, we have a toolbox full of ways to dispatch a driver as quickly as possible. And it took us a long time to realize, like, we could use some other DSPs in this mix, right? And that has been a powerful tool for us. But when things are like missed or late, it's like, how responsive are we, just like the live delivery support, to getting that refund to the restaurant, who can in turn give it to the customer? You don't want to be putting somebody on hold that's a customer because you don't have visibility, and now you're calling us, you're on hold with us for 10 minutes while we research all of the things. You need quick answers so that the resolution with your customers as fast as possible.
Wonderful. Okay, that's it for the questions. And I thank you so much for putting up with that Q&A session that I just sprung on you at the last minute.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Love to answer questions.
So Danielle, Christian, thank you so much. That was awesome. Really appreciate you both taking the time to share your experience and walk us through what operators can take to the next level, how operators can take it to the next level. Definitely. It's so for everyone that joined us today, thank you again for being part of the CaterLinked community. We'll be sharing this recording and the presentation deck with everyone, so everyone can dig into the details and share their takeaways with the teams. If you'd like to connect directly with Danielle and Christian, they've given you the details already. We'll share that again, but we'll also drop their links in the follow-up post inside this community. Thanks again for spending time with us, and we will see you in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
See ya.
Bye.